Hello, everyone. My name is Aubrey Wang, a professor of educational leadership. 3 years ago, I was in the same shoes as you are today, and I attended a similar workshop organized by the Provost office. I was, I am happy to share that I was awarded promotion to full, and for the past 2 years, Peter has invited me to share the approach that I use to prepare the dossier for tenure promotion, as he believes that it is helpful for individuals like you. And I'm very happy to be able to do that. I hope you will find this presentation in my approach useful. Ultimately, I believe that when an aligned support system, all of us can complete this journey of getting our tenure and promotion while feeling connected and energized. I want to share with you a way to prepare the dossier so that retains your sanity, reduces your sense of isolation, and motivates you to completion. There are really 3 simple steps. You want to start with a plan and develop a writing support system, and just go ahead and complete a dossier. First, it's helpful to ensure that you have the most current tenure and promotion resources from your department, as well as the university faculty handbook guide, and then review them to become familiar with them. Based on what is being asked from these resources, then develop your writing goals for the summer by asking yourself, what are the important goals for myself for the summer? What are the tasks that will allow me to meet those writing goals? Once you have that, break down your summer into weeks. So you think about having, let's say, 12 weeks or 14 weeks or 16 weeks. Think about then for each of these goals that you have and the tasks, how much time would you need to finish them, starting at the task level. And then once you have done that, then think about how can you build in a daily writing practice so that each week you can work a little bit on that task for the week and then meet the timeline in the plan that you have developed for yourself. So some tips that you might find helpful as you're planning your writing plan for the summer would be asking yourself, what are my writing goals for this summer? What are the tasks for each of these goals? What tasks require the most time from me and from others? Often this can be the narratives or the letters of support that you might need from others. How can I use my summer for the most writing intensive tasks and the tasks that involve others? Breaking down your plan into weeks would help with that. And what can I accomplish each day if I write for at least 30 minutes? So this is a process of planning where you start from the broader goals, which is supported by the tasks, and then you want to break it down further. So then each day, if you only have 30 minutes, you know what you can realistically do and accomplish. The second major step in this approach is to develop a writing support system for yourself. Not only should you have a good working space for yourself and manage the interruptions and distractions around you, but you might want to consider also joining a writing group so that you are supported as you go through this process and you won't feel so isolated and alone, and practice self-compassion along the way. Support groups work if they're mutually beneficial, if it's rewarding for everybody and fun for everybody. Everyone need to come in with a non-evaluative perspective. It is completely voluntary and it needs to have some sort of consistency. There are 3 main types of writing groups, and accountability groups require the least amount of time commitment from everybody. It could be as short as 15 minutes a week, could be in person by Zoom, or it could be just by email, where people within the group will share with each other what goals they were able, or what goals they were able to meet for that week. What were the obstacles? and what are their goals for the next week. And that's all you do. You just share what were the goals, were you able to meet them, what were the obstacles, and what are the next week's goal. I have found this type of accountability groups to be very useful during the period when I was going up for tenure and promotion, because this allows me to work with people from different disciplines and sometimes from different stages as well. There's a quiet writing group, which is a second main type of writing support group where as a group, you say, okay, let's all meet on this day for that, say, 2 to 3 hours, whether it's in person or by Zoom. At the beginning of that session, you share with each other what the writing goal is for that 2 to 3 hours. Then you just be quiet and write. At the end of that time, you share with each other what you were able to do and set the date for the next quiet writing time. The benefits of this type of writing group is that you actually come in and have a separate space, share with others to finish that writing tasks. So in case this is a way that you can manage the distractions around you, then I recommend this approach. For the feedback groups, often it should be arranged in a way where the feedback should have almost like a shared understanding about what would be considered as useful feedback. So for instance, if it's a review of the curriculum vitae, to make sure that the vitae is organized in alignment with the primary supporting indicators as listed in the handbook for the scholarship area, for the service area. So that's something that others can give you feedback on in a very easy, non-judgmental way. Others could be that you're thinking about sharing different parts of your arguments for the narratives, and you just want them to comment on whether the argument is persuasive, and then they can then share feedback with you. Another approach that I found to be useful for myself is I identify mentors that have already achieved the rank that I am aspiring to become. And I just ask them, would you be willing to review my draft narratives at this date? And they say yes, and then I just send the draft narrative to them by that date. And it should be as close to a finished version as you can. So then you get the most feedback from these individuals. That's usually a one-time feedback. And then you're able then to use their feedback to then refine what you have written. But you want to build this into your summer writing plan, because you definitely don't want to give this to someone else to provide feedback with very short turnaround time. So do it early enough so they have time to review it, give you feedback, and you can also have time to incorporate them into the way you refine your narratives. So generally, to create a support group for yourself, you want to start by asking yourself, what type of support do you need, and who are your potential partners? And just identify, one would be enough. Just one more person would be enough. It could be partners, triad, it could be bigger group than that, just depending, again, what is that common need. So then as a group, you need to talk about what's a shared vision, what structure will work best. And then just follow through with the first meeting, and then always end the first meeting with information about the next meeting. Self-compassion. I want to take a brief moment to talk about this, just because I noticed for myself and also to all the people that I've mentored along the way that often when we go through this tenure and promotion process, we make ourselves feel really stressed and anxious. And I've seen myself and others that our typical way of responding to that is either work so hard that we're so exhausted, or we avoid the problem for as long as we can. Both of these strategies generate more stress, anxiety, and I want to share with you a self-compassion practice that I have found to be really simple, brief, and effective. And these practices, if you do it on a somewhat regular basis for yourself, you'll be able to learn to forgive yourself and to accept your imperfection as well as where you're great and nice and good. So then you feel that you can be accepted as who you are. The practice only involves 3 breaths. So the first breath, just breathe in, allow your body to expand as it naturally does. And then breathe out and allow your body to contract as it naturally does. On the second breath, when you breathe in, think about that person in your life, whether the person is still existing or has passed, who has always been there for you, who's just so delighted to see you, to be with you. And the person may like to give you hugs, give you a welcoming smile, may like to rub your shoulder, but just this person that has always been there for you, no matter how you feel, where you are. Then on the third breath, just hold on to that sensation of warmth, of a sense of belonging, and then just carry it with you for as long as you can. Allow your body again to take a breath in and breath out. And that concludes the self-compassion practice. I highly recommend you do that. I have found that if you do that on a more regular basis, it will become a useful practice to make yourself feel less stressed, especially when it relates to the self-criticism and sometimes self-hatred that we have of ourselves, which I think is a common issue for people in higher education. So the last step would be just go ahead and complete your dossier, and it helps to kind of break down this huge dossier project into 4 main parts: the curriculum vitae, the narratives, the primary indicators, and the supporting indicators. I think it's always a good idea to start with the curriculum vitae, update it until it is current, and then reorganize it so it aligns with the way the primary indicators are laid out for the scholarship portion and also for the service portion. And then when you start working on your narratives, because your CV is updated, then it's easier, even when you have to write that narrative for the external reviewers, to then refer to your updated CV. So then there's an alignment between what you write in your narratives and what you state in your curriculum vitae. I also think it's a great idea to find a way to develop the alignment that you might want for everything that you do within this dossier. So I created an additional resource that I'm just going to go through with you. The intention for this resource is to acquire familiarity with the primary and secondary indicators in each of the tenure promotion categories using the current departmental guideline and faculty handbook. This will then allow you to communicate align your communication of each major documents of your dossier, whether it's a curriculum vitae, narratives, primary indicators, or supporting indicators, the Canvas dossier, with the language and expectation as they're currently stated in these resources. The process is easy. You just really copy and paste from your current departmental guideline faculty handbook so that you have a separate sheet for each of the evaluation categories, whether it's teaching, scholarship, service, or leadership, at the appropriate rank level that you're aspiring for. And within each of these summary table, you have that language that you copy and pasted from the handbook and the guideline. And then underneath it, create a summary table that should have 2 columns. One would be all the primary indicators that are for, let's say, teaching, and the other column will be the secondary indicators for teaching. And so to create another table for scholarship, 1 column is the primary indicator and the second column is the supporting indicator, the secondary indicators, and do that for every one of them. And once you have that summary table in place, then you can copy and paste from your updated curriculum vitae and other sources, each piece of evidence, each line of item from your CV to the appropriate indicator. So when you do this, when you create the summary table, primary and secondary indicators for each evaluation category, it helps you to align it with the information that you present, certainly in your curriculum vitae, and then also with the narratives that you're going to write, as well as with the way that you design the dossier canvas page and the way that you upload your evidence. So I hope you found that to be useful. And I just want to share with you that it is definitely possible to finish your dossier feeling supported and motivated. And there are really 3 simple steps to do so. So I hope you found my approach to be useful as you go forward on this journey, and just best wishes.